All right, this is the meeting for the ADP panel on Thursday, July 13th, 2017 at 2 o'clock. First item is to welcome the Squamish Nation Traditional Territory. Second is to adopt the agenda from today's meeting. Is there any changes to the,
I was just going to make the motion to adopt.
motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Do you need to make a change to it? Since we've deleted something, or?
It's already-
It is
It just,
Oh,
so
right.
you
The old
just
one.
say, as amended.
as amended. Item removed of the Garibaldi Springs Golf Course Development Permit application. We're not here to talk about that. All right, number 3, minutes of meeting from the May 18th, 2018 ADP meeting. Has everyone reviewed those and they're happy with that, or is there some changes?
I have one comment. I'm missing from the list of attendees.
Okay, so I
You can comment if you want.
you can say, you can adopt the minutes with that amendment.
Okay, we will adopt that minutes with that amendment. Motion from Crosland, seconded by Sarah. All in favor? Adopted. Business arising, is there anything there? So the business number 4, Garibaldi Springs is off the table, so we're talking about 1365 Pemberton Avenue. It's an update by Carrie.
If I may, my name is Jonas Melnichkis, Director of Community Planning. I'd like to introduce Jesse Fletcher, who's a new planner with the District of Squamish, and Carrie was not available today, so Jesse is presenting the project. So she'll do both of Carrie's files. Over to you.
Okay, so first up we have Development Permit 441. This is file planner Carrie Hamilton, who is away today. And this is for a 6-story mixed-use development located on 1365 Pemberton. 73 residential units, 390 square meters, or 95 square meters of ground floor commercial permitted. This was approved by council on June 13th, 2017. So the project was first presented to ADP on February 16th, 2017. Panel generally supported the application, but did have a number of recommendations to be worked out with staff. These included revised landscape drawings. I believe at the time they were not complete. And then also the panel had some concerns around the 4-lane parking garage off of Pemberton Avenue. This has been addressed by moving to a 2-lane parking garage with an internal queuing system controlled by a light. That's as far as I can explain. Don't totally understand it, but apparently it's awesome. So we've attachment 1 is the complete landscape drawing set, and attachment 2, the final garage entrance design. So at this time, we are looking for any additional comments based on the landscape plans that we can then communicate to the developer.
I think what happened was we committed to bringing an update to the ADP of what happened on the landscape part of it and the entranceway. So this is that follow-up. Although the DP has been issued,
Yeah.
the applicant we may be able to work with the applicant on a voluntary basis on the landscaping part of it if there's any additional comments.
Okay. I see. Yeah, okay. So our previous comments are being worked on and we'll still follow up.
That's all.
Okay. Okay, so you want to comment on landscape and entrance? We can start. Dean, do you want to start that end?
Yep.
We'll make, we're going to be providing, this isn't a question and answer thing.
No,
We're
no,
just
the
gonna be
applicant's not
providing-
here, we're just updating the ADP and looking for any feedback.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, sure. So my biggest concern with this proposal was the 4 lanes coming up the street. This 2-lane that I'm seeing now, it's looking a little bit awkward in the sense that you come in 1 lane in and out, and then they kind of funnel into 2 lanes each. So looking at the drawing, there's not enough dimensions to really understand how wide that funnel goes down to, and if you're going to have like a clash of cars like you mentioned, there's a light system, so it's like a
Yes.
traffic light or?
Yeah, so on the interior of the queuing system, you would basically yield to anybody entering off the street, so there would
Okay.
never be queuing happening on Pemberton, and so the light would be red and green, so if there are cars coming in, you wouldn't be able to exit the building, you'd have to wait,
Okay.
and that would avoid any traffic congestion on Pemberton.
Oh, so sorry, the light's actually further down?
No, it's in.
It's inside the building.
It's inside the building.
Oh,
So just at the entrance of
yeah. Oh,
the.
this
You can
right?
see it on the elevation, as you look at it.
On here, maybe?
On,
The current
from,
page?
it's, they're about here. You from southeast
Oh.
option 2.
Hmm,
So
yeah.
it's the inside of the.
Okay, right. I guess it's more for the district to understand how that works and that they have concerns about the operation and how you can obviously understand the cars will have to sort of stop and start.
Inside the building.
Inside, but potentially outside, like let's say a car's coming out, I'm trying to get in, I have to wait for that car to get out before I can go in with the same. And you've got two directions, so
Yeah.
whatever the issue is, you multiply it by potentially twice the volume.
Oh yeah, this was reviewed by our engineering department.
Okay.
And they're happy with it, obviously they're at the servicing agreement stage right now, so they're working through the traffic details.
Okay. Right. But I think that's that was my biggest issue, and that's probably my only comment. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So I'm still on that same issue. How's it gonna work with pedestrians? So if you've got pedestrians who are waiting to cross the sidewalk, and there's people queuing to get out, and somebody making a left to get in, and I'm halfway across a cross slope, which is really difficult to wheel across, how is that gonna work for pedestrian safety?
So cars would have to yield for any pedestrian traffic, because obviously they're going to be crossing a sidewalk. Any of the queuing will be happening inside the building, the way the system is designed. So it shouldn't affect pedestrian, or it will affect because cars are coming in and out, but it shouldn't be a hazard to pedestrians. Because pedestrians have the right of way over. It's not like a street, it's a driveway, essentially.
Right.
So it would work like a driveway.
Now, one thing that I had asked before is whether or not there could be some sort of space at adjacent to the trench drain that would be relatively flat-ish, that would have less slope than the rest of the driveway, just to expedite crossing that. When you're passing on a cross slope of even more than 2 degrees, the amount of power that's required, like it's exponentially harder to push across the slope
Yes.
sideways than it is pushing up the slope.
Okay.
So, to speed up that crossing for the pedestrian, if they're
Have
wheeling
a
themselves, is to have, just even a slight less degree of angle
yeah.
would improve the usability of that.
Okay. We can communicate that to our engineering department. Who will be
So,
reviewing it.
maybe it doesn't need to be that wide, 36 inches.
Okay.
And a single lane. But that's something, because that's, you're gonna want people walking around, and that's, to me, a hazard. That's all my question.
Well, just to stop, do we lose our parking on Pemberton?
Yes, we will lose the 4 stalls of parking.
I didn't notice that.
But the parking that is there is, some of it is too close to the intersection anyways. But yes, this is the only, in this kind of part of the Pemberton, this is the only place where there was 4 stalls.
Yeah, so we lose those 4 stalls.
We lose those 4 stalls. However, Pemberton is envisioned to become one of the major streets into downtown once there is a connection over to Laurelwood. So parking is, or a lot of parking along that street is not ideal anyways with the amount of intersections in this area.
Well, it's a little late to complain about that now, isn't it?
Well, don't you get a 2-way bike lane instead of parking, right?
That's the plan, yes.
Yeah.
So replace it with a separated bike lane.
And that frontage will be part of this development. I mean, I know it will end at the property line.
Yeah, the long-term plan is to have a separated bike lane running all along Pemberton to 3rd Avenue.
Right.
I think there's still a question on which side is best, the engineering department is dealing with. But the plan is to have a separate bike lane.
It does indicate on the second page here, 3-meter future wide bike lanes.
Okay. So Ted,
Yeah, that
besides
was it.
parking, do you have any?
Yeah, no,
And, okay,
Excellent.
Derek?
I just want to say, I think it's great that it moves from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. I think it's great that the municipality is working with the developer to come up with an out-of-the-box solution. Consider something new, and yes, it will probably be awkward in the beginning, and people will probably have to take some getting used to it, but I think it's a fantastic that you guys consider the new options and try them out. So I think it's all positive.
Cheryl?
I wasn't here for the previous one, and based on the questions, I think it's being addressed. I'm good.
Okay. Nothing on landscape so far yet.
it's coming.
It's your turn.
And I'm not the guy to talk about landscape, so I won't talk about landscape.
Oh, come on, I talk about engineering.
I have nothing else to say about the access. It's half the width that it used to be. I think to address Sarah's comment about the cross slope, it's easy to drop the back end of that and keep it flat through just the sidewalk portion. On-site can do what it needs to do, but keep the back of the sidewalk as the same as the front curb, and we do that on Cleveland and everywhere, so that wheelchair or whatever it needs to be doesn't have to negotiate this. It's an easy thing to do. So drop that back of the sidewalk, and it's simple to do. It's a standard that's used all the time. So that's my comments.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm glad to see this come back with a positive direction to reducing the amount of lanes crossing the sidewalk. I think a bunch of us, or a few of us after the meeting, thought, why did we let that go through? So this is nice to see it come back with an attempt to reduce the amount of traffic crossing the sidewalk. In that design evolution, I would encourage, because you've got the lights and the gates, automatic gates, I'm assuming those are coming up and down with every vehicle entrance and exit, unless it's just a daytime, nighttime thing, that the gate for the lower level be moved to grid line G or thereabouts. And the reason for that is, if it's where it is, you're going to have a car on a red light and gate coming down behind them. So there's too many things going on at once, and by moving that gate into the building further, one, it gets it away from the pedestrian environment and gets rid of that kind of general kind of ugly parking garage gate situation. But I think would allow the queuing and the timing of lights to be much more successful. And as long as there's a good view for the exiting lane looking east down the sidewalk, and I don't think there's something blocking there. I think it's only a handrail, so I think that's good. So that would be my own concerns in the kind of design evolution of those. And I have no comments about the landscape. Thank you.
I echo the comments. I think it's really great that they took this initiative to try and find a unique solution to reduce the size of that ramp. Looking good. As for the landscape, they have done a really good job. I think these plans are really thorough and have really thought through the conditions well, so it's good.
Yeah, just one comment, I guess, about the traffic lights. I would just be concerned that someone coming down Cleveland turning right directly onto Pemberton, and someone coming out of the parkade, they're going to end up waiting for that person to exit the parkade, and they're going to block off the bike lane. I guess that would be my only concern with that, but you guys are working through those logistics.
I wasn't here for the first meeting, so I'm playing a little bit of catch up. But is the main reason for the lights because it's close to an intersection and the volume from the parkade? Is that?
So the lights would be to ensure that people exiting will line up and wait for people entering the parkade to reduce the amount of congestion on Pemberton, people waiting to get into the building.
Because of the size of the project?
Because of the size
So
of the
you're
project.
anticipating
Yeah,
what
there's-
traffic is going to
I think it's because the parkade, you have to have, it's one lane going up and one lane going down. So that's what makes the 4 lanes across, rather than just having one lane in and one lane out, which is why I made it so wide.
And is the top for the commercial mainly, or it's not necessarily separated like that?
Well, both parking levels are for residential and some commercial.
Okay, thanks. Then yeah, as long as there's signage and it's really clear that people are waiting for the lights, that they're low enough, that it really is sort of evident you're supposed to wait, I think that works. And then from the landscape, more for the furniture portion than the vegetation itself. I really like the idea of the custom wood benches. I think if they can incorporate those as opposed to the pre-manufactured pieces, that'd be great. And that's me.
So I'm taking notes here to summarize. What was that last one there, Kate?
Sorry?
The last comment you had? I'm taking notes.
Sorry, for
The pre-manufactured.
instead of the pre-manufactured furniture pieces, I like the idea of the custom wooden built-ins that they've
Okay.
got.
And that's what they're proposing?
It appears so.
Yeah.
I thought we'd have a presentation, but it looks like that's what they're proposing.
Okay. Okay. That's all of us. So we can should we go to, I guess we summarize our notes here.
Yeah, I don't think we need a motion for that.
We don't need a motion.
Okay, so I'll summarize what I took notes and then you can say yes or no. Dimensions was the first thing on here. We need a few more dimensions shown. Are we in agreement to that?
It's probably useful just to see,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily,
I don't see the width of the driveway.
yeah, that's what's confusing. I
Okay.
see like the wider width, but I don't see the street width.
Yeah, okay. Dimensions of the driveway. Number 2 was pedestrian conflicts. How does the pedestrian deal with cars and vice versa? 3rd was the cross slope on the driveway grade along the sidewalk. Make it flat. Number 4 was the gate, move it along grid line G. There is one, there's 2 gates, right? There's one,
The upper gate and lower gate.
yeah, so the upper gate needs to move back.
Well, no, not necessarily. I guess the direction, my suggestion would be to move the lower garage gate further into the building, and I suggested grid line G or similar.
Right. Number 5, I had sight lines. It looked like that was okay, but maybe confirm sight lines are appropriate. And 7 was confirm lights operation isn't going to conflict with nearby intersections. And the one thing we talked about on landscape was that confirm you're using the wooden street furniture, not the pre-manufactured. Okay, Dean?
I just noticed the width is actually on their level 1 plan. It's 24 feet from the street, so if you look at
Drawing number
drawing A102,
A102.
it's sort of tucked close to the non-FSR legend. There's a 24-foot throat dimension.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, if you take away what looks like it might be a block wall and 2 roads split, you'd probably be left with 23 feet. So about 11.5 feet each side.
Right. Is that appropriate? So,
You know,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Can't see that dimension.
It's over in the road, the street.
Oh, wait a minute. Ah, there it is, okay, yeah, yeah, good.
It's actually quite wide.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we don't need to address the dimensions. That's it?
Great.
Anything else? Good.
Maybe just a comment to make sure the location and the heights of the signage and the traffic lights are considered so that it's out of the way enough so that loading trucks can get in and out, but that it's still visible enough for everybody to know that they're going to pay attention. So
Right,
it takes some thinking.
yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jesse. That concludes that one, I'd say.
Excellent. Let's check the options.
Okay.
And we'll just wait for
And it's the same.
recess for 2 minutes. Okay, we're reconvening for the second development permit, DP 419 at 38148 Cleveland Avenue. And Jesse will explain. The architect's not here, but will be here later. A lot of the questions and comments were landscape, but the landscape architect is here, so we can at least iron out those details. So thanks for showing up early. And yeah, Jesse, do you want to?
All right, good afternoon. My name is Jessie Fletcher, planner with the District of Squamish. I'm presenting development permit 419 located at 38148 Cleveland Avenue on behalf of Carrie Hamilton, who can't be here today. Proposed development offers 12 residential units and ground floor commercial, all compliant with the C4 zoning. The proposed development is located in development permit area 2, that's downtown Squamish commercial multifamily, and it's subject to applicable development permit area guidelines. So the project was previously presented to ADP on September 15th, 2016. The panel was generally supportive, but had a number of recommendations to resolve before returning to present a revised project. Staff are generally supportive of the revised drawings and are specifically looking for ADP's recommendations on the remaining unsolved recommendations listed in Schedule B, which is up on the screen, and any further comments regarding the general form and character of the development as it pertains to development permit area 2. In your staff report, we do have a table outlining how the project aligns with development permit area 2 guidelines. We note that in terms of the treatment of sidewalls, while it does mostly meet the guidelines, we're not sure that it's sufficient, and we're looking for ADP's recommendation based on that guideline. So Schedule B of your report, which is the one up on the screen, highlights the changes that have happened since the September 2016 meeting. Top drawing comments below refer to the top drawing. So the September 2016, ADP recommended that they select different material than cedar wood siding, and the applicant has come back with wood grain printed metal cladding. They've consolidated the CRU units, and the residential entrance has been moved. Staff note that there's still no frontage planting added. The angle has been removed on the upper part of the building. There has been some articulation reorientation, and natural stone cladding has been proposed instead of stone veneer. And then staff also note that in terms of the frontage, there have been no noted improvements to the exterior lighting, but there is some exterior lighting, and that complies with DP area guidelines. In terms of the rear of the building, the garbage structure has been wrapped with a different material to mimic the main building, though no additional lighting has been noted in the rear. And then the grass has been removed in the rear, and There have been rooftop plantings on top of the garbage accessory building. So these comments pertain to the sidewall. Originally, the applicant came forward with a triangle design on the side. ADP recommended that they change that, and they've come forward with this block design. But the stone wall has not been wrapped further. There has been no glass added in this area right here. And staff feel that these concerns have not been addressed. And then onto the rooftop, ADP suggested that they add windows for natural light, and the applicant has added windows into the stairwell. There was a request for planters, which have been added as well as a hose bib. And enclosed space has been provided and highlighted within the dashed line, which doesn't show up very well here, but if you follow the little hand mouse, it's this guy right here. So maybe I'll pass it over to the landscape architect. Don't know that they're up here. I have that plan right there, yeah. So that was in their package, but we don't have one right here, unfortunately.
Well, my name is David Rowe, as a PD Group landscape architect. Sorry that Rob's not here to perform the vital architectural portion of the presentation, but one thing I should correct right away is that we have made some changes to the landscaping on the frontage, and we have added planting on there. So there's now a street tree in the centre of the frontage, and we have added a planter and bike racks on the sort of boulevard strip next to the sidewalk. So that has been added since the last presentation.
Can you guys pass that around? I don't think that's
I got the same.
Yeah, do we have more copies of those? I'll work with crossing here.
At the back of the project, there's also been a green roof added to the garbage enclosure, the top of the garbage enclosure. And there was a freestanding trellis on either side of the parking lot. That's now been extended over the top of the garbage enclosure, so that there is additional greenery going to be going vertically above the garbage enclosure. I don't think there are any other significant changes to the landscaping on ground level, but on the roof deck, we have added the new empty planters on the perimeter of the roof deck, the north and south perimeters, and I think on the back decks there are extensions down the side of that as well. And in between the back decks, front and back, we have privacy screen planting and a privacy screen as well in the centre of the planting bed that they each run north-south at the back there.
Can you put the landscape plan up on the screen here?
Go.
Some of us are missing. You don't have the landscape plan?
But I can go get it.
Could you get it
From the GIS.
Yeah, it wasn't.
There was a single sheet, and that's what I shared around.
It's the last page unless it's, there you go.
You can pull it off in the agenda package. It was a separate sheet when I picked up mine on Friday.
Yeah, and then it's been stapled to the back so they've been.
Recess.
I do.
Just run over to get a digital copy of it.
Early or something?
Probably. Yeah, I think it was sent in after the main package had been submitted.
So who's still missing a drawing?
But I'm borrowing.
Liz is borrowing.
I've given
Looks like
mine
we're
away.
fine. Giving it away.
Sharing is caring.
Perfect. There you go, Sarah. Okay, everyone's got one. So, thanks.
I've got glasses.
So I think that's really covered the landscape elements there. The front planting bed is predominantly native planting. It's at present it's shown on grade, and the tree will be in a tree grid, which would be gravel surfaced, which is similar to a lot of the tree planting that's already on Cleveland.
Yeah.
And it's also using the same species that are down the adjoining properties. It's a birch, paperbark birch.
Okay. Okay, well, let's go around table with comments or questions. Do we have questions? So Kate, do you want to start with your questions?
Sure. I just have one question I'm hoping somebody can answer. It says here that there was a request for windows and natural lights, and it says added windows and stairwells. But I don't see where in the stairwells, like, do they mean the center stairwells? And I can't see any added windows.
They go up to the roof too.
Sorry?
They go up to the top at the roof.
Right, is that the ones they mean, just those two?
Those are the only stairwells.
I think it's just the ones that go to the rooftop.
On the very top, so those are the leaves, they added two little windows there in this room. Okay, that was the only question.
Liz, do you have questions?
Yeah, I guess they're more for the architect. I don't suppose we have a sample of the wood grain metal cladding here, no. So I guess that would be a kind of a big thing to review. The question regarding the garbage and how it gets removed, because I see there's a little sort of raised area there. Does somebody bring the bins out on garbage day? How does, you probably don't know. I'm
Well,
just wondering how the truck picks up from there.
I think it's picked up from Loggers Lane side. There's a
Yeah.
there's a rollover door on Loggers Lane side, and there's a pedestrian door on the side of the garbage enclosure.
Yeah, I was just curious why there was a raised area outside, or what appears to be a raised pad outside of the roll-up door there.
I think that's intended to be there's going to be a curb let down there so that the bin can roll out.
Okay. That's it for questions.
With regards to the street frontage, I see that there's two existing light poles kind of on either end. So is the one tree, is that the max that can be fit in with spacing and such?
That was the reason for just keeping it to the one tree. I noticed there are new light poles down on Cleveland, and these are an old version that we've retained.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
David, the note on the rooftop planters says, was it pre-manufactured or something to that effect? Is there an anchoring system for those if they're not integral to the structure?
Actually, that may be a hangover from the last scheme that wasn't corrected. They're now built in. They're all
good.
built in.
Good. Okay. Maybe to staff or anybody who recalls when you first saw it, there's no request for any commercial parking, both for business owners or occupiers or to shoppers. Zero, right? So if somebody comes to work, where do they park?
So Cleveland benefits from this provision that allows it to owners to buy out commercial parking, all of it.
100% of it?
100% only on Cleveland.
Wow.
So that is what's happening with a lot of these smaller lots. Essentially, you either have to park on the street, take a bike, or walk to work.
Okay. David, what's the light green surface in the rear
That's concrete.
Green concrete, good.
Green
Okay, 'cause
concrete.
there's a note that's on the drawings, on the
Yeah.
architectural that points to it, calls it concrete, and the other one, same note, the same spot points to, it calls it grass.
Right.
So that's a leftover. Okay. And, yeah, that's my questions, thanks.
I don't have any questions.
I have a question for staff for Loggers Lane. What is the vision for Loggers Lane in the future? Or is it?
It's uncertain right now in terms of vision. We know it's going to be a major active transportation corridor, or at least that's the plan. If the district does never acquire the old rail line. But Loggers Lane potentially will be a very active street and will be one of the major entranceways into the oceanfront. But right now it's kind of a back alley because all the buildings are backing onto it. There's no requirement certainly to put frontage onto the building.
Okay, yep. I'm done with questions.
Just questions or questions and comments?
Just questions.
Okay, does anybody know why the window has not been added to the north elevation? That's my question. Okay, thank you.
I'm good with questions.
Okay.
I have no questions.
I wasn't here for this one last time, so I don't know what was talked about, but it's just like my observation looking at the building, it feels like it's slammed up against the property line on every single face, including the rear, Loggers Lane. So if you think about this thing, it's a concrete masonry wall on the two long sides of the building going all the way up, and then it's walled in. Secondly, it doesn't really give much back to the main street. Feels like a pretty big, heavy, monolithic building. There's a good example on the second page, the rendering, looking at the front of the building and looking at the adjacent property to the right. And I kind of look at it thinking they're actually fairly similar in terms of their style, and feel like we should be trying to do something better and improve on what we've got. These are just my observations, like little things like why there's not more interest in the front facade and articulation, in the sense that the entrance to the residential building doesn't necessarily have to look like a shop front as well. It could have been set back and create like a little entry vestibule before walking into the entryway. And I don't really get the style. It's all part of the form and character, but
These are more comments than questions.
yeah. I can't really ask any questions, and I was sort of wondering if that came up last time.
It did, some
Yeah.
of those were, but let's summarize our comments because the architect can't answer
Yeah,
any
sure.
questions, so we'll
Okay.
do another round here.
Okay.
Just comments specifically and then they can be addressed,
Okay.
so,
One more question
yep.
to the landscape architect. The trellis work in the back of the building, is there any option of taking that all the way up that wall to cover the whole wall?
I think it's at 6 meters at the moment. I don't think that's been considered. I mean, generally, if we're putting in climbing plants, usually they can max out at about 6 meters, but I guess it could go higher.
Yeah, okay.
I have one more question as well. So planning, the building to the north that's set back, if that was to be redone, is there a chance that could be pushed forward to the same lot line as this building? Is that
Yeah.
probably what's going to
Yeah,
happen?
so the C4 zoning has a 0 lot line, so if it was to be redeveloped, it could, at this point in time, build to the 0 lot line.
Right, okay.
Okay, those are our questions. Kate, do you want to start with comments?
Sure.
just going to say that it came up in the last meeting that it would be nice to have that window on the north wall. And I still think, window or not, it's awkward, the transition of the finishes that they have shown. However, if the building next to it can be built to the 0 lot line, it's a no point anyway.
Kate,
So,
where's the window requested?
It was
It's
to be
firewall.
by the, it was,
Sorry, I'll pull it up.
well, they talked about the northwest corner.
So it's this
Right
area right
there.
here.
And I think it came up, oh, would it be nice to have glazing? And I think the architect said, oh, that's not possible, but then I think it was mentioned on the table that actually it is possible. But coming up with an alternative solution, that kind of thing.
Okay.
I still think it would look great, especially now that that's where the residential entrance is. It makes a lot of sense to have that really open corner. But I understand that that is actually completely impractical if the building could be moved forward. And to finish, my other comment is I really like the changes that the architect and the landscape architect have done to the rear, the planting in the front as well, but I think the garbage enclosure looks much improved and the added landscaping is a really good direction. That's me.
I would agree. I think the back of the building looks considerably better than it did with the first application. I would like to see a sample of the wood grain metal cladding. I don't see any lighting shown in the garbage enclosure. Definitely that should be on here somewhere. I think that's it. That sums it up.
Thanks. Jenna?
I think the landscape improvements to the roof are very positive. It's looking great. With regards to the lighting, that's something that certainly should be added in. Whether it has been or not, according to this list, it has not yet been. So I think that should be added in for safety reasons. The improvements, I agree with you, the improvements to the garden enclosure are really positive as well. With regards to the street frontage, being that we're quite limited with how many trees we can fit in, I think it would be worthwhile doing a study of can we extend the shrub planting at all in that area just to soften it up a bit. And it would encourage consideration for additional evergreen plantings in that area just to give some all-season aesthetics to that. And that's it. That's good.
Yeah, I think the added landscaping to the Cleveland frontage is welcome. David, I would encourage maybe underplanting the street tree versus just having loose gravel there, and that might match your, or be similar to your other street grade planter. I think the area that I have the most trouble with, and this is probably comments that should have come at the previous panel, but the lack of a kind of form and character to the Loggers Lane side, architecturally and otherwise, and landscape, and I think that could probably be treated like a courtyard facade, using the garbage building and the opposite side to kind of work together and have a language, and versus just this kind of little decorated shed out the back. So I think I would treat the back as a facade to really give Loggers Lane a positive kind of character to it, whether that's a landscape treatment or an architectural treatment. Or maybe just the garbage building should have originally been just included within the base of the building instead of floating out there. And then I think, I know it's probably beyond this panel, but I think the lack of any commercial parking is a mistake, because you've got people who have businesses that have to have a vehicle adjacent to their business. They have to be able to load materials into their business and other things like that. So I think giving over 100 or selling out 100% of the commercial parking is a mistake as a general policy. I can see a relaxation, 50 or 75% of it, but not 100%. That's it?
My comments, and Dean might emphasize those, but the frontage along Cleveland, the rooftop doesn't seem to fit with the building itself. It looks on the rendering as it extended quite a bit, and I don't know if that's to cover the sidewalk. It won't function as that because it's so high up, but it does block the views behind where the chief is, I guess. So the roof doesn't seem to fit with the building. And that's my comments.
If I could add just a comment on the end of that, the upper roof doesn't seem, the language of two roofs don't work together.
Yeah.
This upper roof was added, right? It wasn't in was it in the original?
Yeah, I'm speaking about the play on this roof.
Okay.
Down here, it's gonna protect pedestrians from rain, but that just sticks out. It looks like it projects quite a bit from here. So the play on that doesn't work. I don't think.
It wouldn't be able to project past the property line, so it might just be overplayed in the
Okay,
drawing.
okay.
Seems to be showing up on the front page that it's extending out further.
It's definitely projecting past.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be possible into the district right away.
Yeah, they've noted fourth floor roof. And it's,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so
Significant.
And then was at the first meeting, I think the discussion was remove the triangle top roof or top sidewalls. But
Yeah.
I think we were trying to lean towards remove them entirely and not box them out so that they're bigger. We didn't see the need for them. There's a beam that runs across on the roof to pick up some of those things, but the beam could be shortened so that that fire separation doesn't have to be at the edge of the north and south walls. That pickup beam at the very top to pick up those rafters could be end short so you can meet that fire code. I believe that's where that discussion went. And then that would remove that requirement for that north and south end wall. We suggested to take out the triangle, but not to add more massing to those walls, to actually take out that whole triangle at the time.
No, just
That was what I recall. Cheryl?
I guess going down these notes, exterior lighting, I think it's important to light the pathway at least to the garbage area. So when I'm taking out my garbage at night, it will feel safe. And again, treatment along Loggers Lane, I agree with Crosland, even change in paving material on site would help. I guess this will not be a back lane forever, and I think we need to start considering what the possibilities are now, rather than, in the future, let's say the neighbors redevelop and they get a streetscape, and then you have to be interrupted by an asphalt path or whatever. It's unclear what the proposal is saying right now. I guess regarding roof lines, this level 5 lid, this piece, rather than what Richard was talking about, I find that very awkward. I understand that there's a comment here regarding being able to use the rooftops all year round, but I think there are other ways of doing it. This just makes the whole building a lot chunkier. Although nobody would really see this view, I think it doesn't help the building in terms of character and form. It should really be reconsidered. Yeah, I'll let Derek continue. Thank you.
My comments is that I think that window in the north wall can be there until the building next door gets developed 10, 15, 100 years from now. I think it will add a lot to that space. My second comment is that I think if there's any option in extending that trellis work to make that wall kind of softer, and I think it should be considered. And I think that opening up the rooftop on the sides can really add to the space. I do think that a big part of it should be covered for usability and Squamish. And I think now that you've shown your ability to create green roofs, that is a fantastic place to put a green roof on it. It's accessible, it's easy to get to, and it will make provide a lot of greenery in where we have so many hard surfaces on this and really looking for green space. It will still add to this, give back to the community. Those are my comments.
It's great, yeah, I really like green roofs as well. Somebody brought up the window in the north wall and potentially putting it in there until the building next door is built or rebuilt. And the trellis, I think that'd be great if you could make that covered walkway go down and around the corner to the next building. On the covered walkway, and I thought I saw 6 feet, but I keep looking, and when I look at some of the plan views, I don't know if the sidewalk is covered. So that's a question / comment. Anybody can tell me that? I mean, in one cross section it shows it, but it could show just the sign coming out.
On page 110, A110, it shows that it's about coming out what looks like about 3 feet maybe. 4 or 5 feet maybe.
Is that just the sign?
Yeah, it's what the sign is underneath it, but it says metal frame glass
6
awning.
feet. So it
Do you have
is
the dimension there?
6
Oh, it's
feet,
yeah,
yeah.
6 feet.
6 feet.
Yeah,
So the sidewalk covered.
6 feet. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really good. I mean, 3 years ago when we were looking at these plans, none of the sidewalks were covered. Now they're coming covered, probably thanks to our planning department. And so what was the other one? And it's always interesting, you know, even though parking's not on the radar of this, I always enjoy hearing people's comments on parking. And I was thinking that the district is going to be going through a parking study coming up, and all the comments that we put in on parking hopefully will be collected for that study, and I'm sure this board will review that. But, yeah, because we did, Cleveland Avenue gets the benefit of no commercial parking, but we did extend that to somebody on 2nd Avenue because they were so close to Cleveland, or we tried to.
We tried to, it didn't work.
Yeah. Anyway. So that's my comments, but yeah, if the covered sidewalk can walk around to the next building, well, that'd be great. And a green roof also. We ask for them and they're not in any of our bylaws or anything like that. It's the same as permeable surfaces. You know, permeable surfaces in your parking would be great also, but we never get them. Thank you.
My comments are just around the northwest corner. I'm not sure that it's distinguished enough, not knowing what the lighting will be or such, to recognize that it's the residential entrance. I think there's, a vast improvement to the back garbage receptacle as everybody has commented on, but otherwise I see the building not that changed from when we saw it last time. Accurate.
Yeah, my main and only concern is really the form and character of the building and how it relates to mainly the streetscape. Especially now knowing that upper roof doesn't actually cantilever like it's shown in the 3D drawings. So I'm imagining it now aligning with the whatever it is, concrete block wall, I guess. And I think there's potentially more interesting ways that you could deal with that facade. Other things that I don't think will look great at the end of the day and aren't very well illustrated in 3Ds is how the concrete piers go up, but really they only appear to be about 2, maybe 3 feet deep, and then they just return back into the wall. So they're not even like a veneer onto that that concrete block wall there just literally create like a little sort of fake, what's the best way to explain it? Fake box that goes up to a certain height and stops. It just feels like a bit of fakery to me, and it might appear a bit that way when it's built. But I guess the other option is just looking at how you could treat the facade in a way that breaks it up a little bit more. It's quite busy up in the residential component, but the storefront down low is all in one alignment, and it feels quite rigid from a sort of user's experience of walking along the street. So it would be nice to maybe see the landscape in the 3D. Might help sort of get a better sense of what it's like down there.
Okay. That's it?
Yep.
Okay. We covered all the comments there, nothing outstanding? Okay. So, we need to summarize this and then make an adoption, or a motion. So I can summarize what I think. I've got 14 points here, mostly related to architecture. But the north wall window at the residential level was one. And I believe that was just at the residential level. The lower
Lobby level?
Lobby level. Yeah, good. Yeah. Need a sample of the wood grain that's proposed. Lighting of the garbage enclosure for safety, or the lighting of the back area entirely. Extend shrub planting on Cleveland, and possibly the evergreen plants could be there for our nice winter weather. Underplanting under the tree, I didn't quite understand that.
David described underneath the street tree just as a gravel surface, but the possibility of adding the underplanting, the lower story underneath that tree.
Okay, I think on Cleveland though, they need those grates, the 6 foot wide grates, and that would take away that requirement, or that ability.
Well, the discussion was, yeah, to have it as gravel surface, so if it isn't a grate, it should be planted, I would.
Okay.
But if there's a requirement for a grate, then so will be, I guess.
Yeah, I think all the trees that are going in have a 6 foot steel grate,
Okay.
and that's, I haven't seen any new trees going with underplantings.
We've also got the bike racks there on either side of the tree, and I guess it's just a question of making sure we can still get ready access to the bike racks.
Right, fair enough. Okay, number 6 was courtyard area and back, landscape or architecture. I don't remember, maybe it was talking about a courtyard, how you can incorporate that. Is it by landscape or by a feature? You brought that up.
That was mine, so it was to treat the Loggers Lane frontage in a positive way by either through architecture or landscape architecture, but to give it a courtyard facade, so to speak.
Right, okay. So better treatment of the back.
Yeah.
Business loading space, that was just a comment that we really can't say much about. Should be there, but it's not. The roof extension on the plan, it does show that it extends beyond the sidewalls, so to reduce that and maybe cut it back even further. Lighting the pathway in the back. Change the plant material on Loggers Lane. Did I get that right? Oh, paving area. Change the paving to porous or whatever. Level 5 rooftop recommended to be a green roof. Extend trellis and green roof on level 5. Oh, extend trellis on that south wall, I guess. Northwest corner not distinguished enough, and maybe that's a wraparound of the facade. And break up the facade on storefront. That's my summary.
Was, Cheryl, your comment on roof planes and form, was there comment more about trying to get those roofs to kind of have a similar language, or what?
Yeah, have a similar language, or even if there's an opportunity to either, I guess somebody brought up green roof, or even punch a couple of skylights in so you can still sit beneath it and listen to the rain or whatever, or wind. I think that would be
Just need some
better,
attention. It's
better
just-
other than just a big
Yeah.
flat plate where you
David?
drag your chairs out in the summertime and drag them back in. It's not very considered.
Okay, David?
I was just going to mention that on the upper roof, and it doesn't show up in the architectural set that you've got here, but there was a last minute change where we've got the planter separating the two decks on the south side. We were planning to actually cut back a slot out of the roof just to let rain fall straight onto the planter. So that'll also have the effect of letting some more light into the areas below the decks.
So it'd be two roofs
Yeah.
areas essentially?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That would address it,
Yeah.
I would think. Okay, so now we get to adopt our motion. It's only 3:30, so the architect's not gonna be here for another half hour, so it's not gonna
I don't
happen.
think so. I think we told him to go back.
Oh, did you?
Go
Okay.
the order.
Yeah, okay, good. So we got 4 potentials here, that ADP supports the project, does not need to see this project return. B, ADP supports the project in general and would like the applicant to work with the staff to resolve the following recommendations that we summarized. C, that ADP supports the project in general and would like the applicant to resolve the following recommendations and return the present and present the revised project to ADP. And D, advisory does not support the project for the following reasons. So, can I have a motion?
I think it's either C or D, and we have to vote on it.
Okay.
That was a question mark.
That was a question.
Not an
Are
exclamation
you
mark.
putting a motion on the table so we can discuss it?
I think so. I'll tell you what, I suspect very strongly that Dean is going to say this should come back.
Yeah.
Well, we need a motion.
Throw a motion on
Throw
the
a
table and
motion.
we can discuss it.
Oh, I'll put C.
Motion that ADP support the project, applicant to resolve the following recommendations and return to ADP. What's that?
Seconder?
Yeah, we need a seconder. Sarah,
Okay, now we can discuss.
any discussion on that?
Just I think there's some common threads like the roof line discussion, planting, some updates to things that obviously aren't correct, like the roof extension, and then concerns over not only form and character on the front, but there's some things also being talked about on the back of the building as well. So there's some items that need to be worked through a bit further.
Yeah. And there was a comment I recall that the building really didn't change much. It was nice to see the two different between September and now, but it really didn't change a lot. I guess make a,
I'd be kind of split between leaving it with staff or having it come back. I kind of find it kind of ironic where we let something as significant as the BOSA project go through with one review and get rejected and still move on, where, you know, a project like this that is not low impact, but not the same impact, and we're making it come back for a third time.
That's a rezoning or a zoning,
Yeah.
it's not even a rezoning, I guess it's just the zoning.
Yeah.
yeah, we certainly didn't get this detail from BOSA project.
No, and
No,
that's
but-
a zoning, versus a DP. Yeah, so I'm personally, I'm kind of split between letting staff deal with it or seeing it again.
Hmm?
I'd agree with that. I'd say I'm also torn between B and C. And And I think it has been a disadvantage that the architect hasn't been able to be here to answer some of the questions we've had along the way.
Okay, well, let's make a vote. All in favor for C, the date. 1, 2, the Dean, Sarah, Cheryl, Liz. So that's not a majority. That fails.
You're not in favor?
Did it fail?
I don't know.
Yeah,
So how-
Can we just get who's opposed?
Seven, 8. Oh, and 9 are the, so it has to go 4 to 5, right?
Can I just get who opposed that motion, please?
Anybody
Who wasn't in favor?
Whose motion was that?
So,
it was Dean's motion.
There's 5. 4, so I didn't go through.
Yeah.
so opposed was Crosland, Ted,
Jenna?
Jenna, Richard,
Richard.
Kate, and
Kate?
So it failed. So we have another.
Can I,
Yeah.
just say something? Well, the fact that, okay, fine, we let the Boza project go, but this one, seemingly, it's a smaller infill project. The fact that they haven't even paid attention to it. This is a second go around. Just as, it's not positive, so why would we not see it again? However, I take your point, the third time when we see it, it could be equally as likely that there are not too many changes, but at the very least, if our duty is to have a say on character and form, I think we should see it again. You know, it could be a 15-minute discussion, whatever. I mean, this is still Cleveland staff has, and the city, the district have grand ambitions for it. And this is a development, although small, along the Cleveland frontage. I think we should take it seriously. And I mean, really, if you look at they've not shown it, but the building next door, we are building in 2017. Why are we building similarly to whenever the neighbor here, the 4-story structure is, has built in the 19 whatever. Right? This is a 2017 building. It needs to reflect 2017 standards, considerations, and I guess character and form.
Good points.
We should see it again.
Okay, call question. Who's got? We need a new motion on the table, don't we?
So all the people who were opposed, what motion are
You put your
Putting
motion on
forward.
the table again?
Okay, yes.
Can I just do it again?
Well, no,
Well,
I'll
I
make the
mean,
motion
I,
this time.
Based on, sorry, I don't know your name. I think that Cheryl. Yeah, I think a lot of your comments, I had a lot of frustration with the fact of looking at the previous application, not being here for the previous application, but assuming there were similar concerns and of course in what you just said, seeing that there was no real change, I don't think there was actually a serious enough effort to address the ADP's concerns. So I'll put motion C on the table again.
Can I just have a question?
Ted, yeah.
Did we send the architect on his way because we were not informed about the big one before him? I mean, did we phone the architect and
He's
say,
stuck in traffic.
turn
It was an
around?
accident.
Yeah, there was an accident, the architect wasn't gonna be there till 4, so there's no sense of coming.
Mm-hmm.
But we told him to go back?
Yes. Because it could be 4, it could be 5.
I mean, we've got enough information here, so the presentation of that, I don't think would have made a difference.
Just curious, because
yeah.
someone said, you know, too bad they weren't here,
Yeah.
but if we sent them back, then that is too bad.
Yeah.
You know,
I would second Dean's motion then. Motion C on the table, again.
All right,
Cheryl made some compelling,
arguments.
okay. Anybody else want to?
So we have a seconder on motion, or recommendation C.
Yeah.
Okay, Rosalind. And discussion, further discussion? Okay, let's vote. That the ADP in general would like to work with the applicant to resolve the following recommendation and return to ADP. Dean, Sarah, Derek, Cheryl.
I just need to oppose, that's all.
Oh.
Who opposes?
Richard and
Kate.
Kate.
Kate. Kate or Richard. That's it. Motion
Good.
carries.
Great.
Motion carries.
Excellent.
Good job.
Good work.
But realistically, you would just answer the
Yeah, that's fine.
questions, but
I
it
just-
doesn't change, so,
Just didn't want us to send them, don't come up and then.
yeah.
David will do a good job of passing on the
Oh, yeah.
details.
Okay, that concludes that portion of the meeting. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
5 on the agenda is council status recommendations to council. There's no recommendations, there never is. Referrals from council? No referrals?
Well, not really, well, I'll wait till the round table.
Okay.
I have a question for that. The buyout of the commercial, I know the cost of that has been brought up a few times in relation to what is charged in Squamish to what is charged in other places. Is that under review by you guys, or is just?
Yes, it's under review, there's a bylaw in preparation, to update that amount, and actually take it out, it's right now in the zoning bylaw, and it should be in the standalone bylaw, so that's happening now. I just been away for a couple of weeks, so my kind of sense is off a little bit, but I think it's between 13 and 15,000 is going up from that to, from 6 to 13 or 15. It's still not what it will cost probably to put up a parking structure, but we're trying to at least increase it a bit and then find out what it actually is going to cost to do something about parking, to then again update those amounts.
The council did up that to 15.
Good.
15 it is,
They
okay.
did that, yeah.
Because it's gonna cost
All this
30,000
talk-
to build a parking space,
Yeah,
right?
all this talk about parking for all these years, and in one meeting, everybody got cranky and we doubled it.
Good.
And I'm going, "Look, what? That's it? You know, that's all it took? We could have done this 10 years ago."
And you said they're doing a larger parking study
Well,
as well?
until then, yes, we're, the planning department and everybody is reviewing the parking. I think we have problems, but, finding, parking I find so interesting that we have our planners, the people that see the future in our town, telling us, and some of the architects, when we design parking, make it 9'6", not 7'6", because when the day comes, when you don't need that parking anymore,
Of the building.
you can turn it into office. So when I hear things like that, I realize I'm getting old because, and so I'm trying to change my thinking a little bit and driverless cars and all this new stuff coming, so I just have to go, okay, I'll have to concede. But it's painful watching at this point when these people are gonna be duking it out over parking spots,
Yeah.
But I think parking shouldn't be free. And so when we reduce the parking, it's going to change people's habits. If we continue to provide parking, I don't think that's going to help Squamish get on a bike or walk to work. There's going to be lots of people, especially downtown, living here. Some of those people are going to work downtown.
Well, certainly all shop downtown.
Exactly.
My
So
comment
it's a-
on that would be like the nature of the people that are moving to Squamish and living here. They're doing kite surfing, they've got sleds, they've all got trucks because of what brings them to Squamish. So I don't disagree, like maybe if you're living downtown and working downtown, that makes sense. But otherwise, outside of that, I can't see those individuals who are doing those types of activities, kayaking, what brings them to Squamish in the first place to be able to do that without a vehicle. That would be
With
my.
2 kid seats in the back.
Yeah, I guess that would be my comment to that one. And maybe that's a shorter term thing and not a longer term thing, I don't know.
I think there's value in that. I think where we're heading is more of a sharing of you know, snowmobiles, maybe even trucks, cars. I think one car family is definitely a reality in Squamish, and it will be more and more a reality, even with for people with kids. Lots of people that work here at the district are one car families. So the people that are moving here because they have lots of trucks might not be able to move here because eventually we will run out of those spots where people can park out of the way and sort of still have 3 or 4 cars. Otherwise, you have to buy a single-family home somewhere and make sure you've got enough parking.
Yeah, I sit on Whistler's Transportation Advisory Group, and we've just ended free parking because as long as there's free parking, you're not going to break the habits.
Exactly.
So we've converted all income from parking to transit. We've gone free transit, at least for weekends now. And it was a bit of a backlash, but they're actually seeing the successes of that. We'll see what the real success in the long term is. But yeah, free parking is just an invitation to keep driving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think doing stuff like that is awesome if you have an open mind to say, we're going to try it for so long, see what the result is. If it doesn't work, we change it. But being able to go through these things, and even if you have to come back to option number 2 later on, that's okay. Because people are changing and families are changing, and we have to be able to adapt and grow through it, and it's just not easy to do. So, but being stuck in one way, that's definitely not the solution.
So the idea of designing parking garages, you know, with a 9-foot ceiling, I think is equivalent to the modern day retrofit of a warehouse into living space, right? I mean, it might be a really cool space eventually to take over a parking garage. And I don't think you're making a lot less parking because you're going to a 9-foot ceiling. You're going to end up with longer ramps, obviously, but if you make it 7'6" or 6'8", which nobody fits in with a kayak on the roof anyways, I think you open up your options by keeping that higher ceiling height.
Well, I guess the big trick is to get the number right. You know,
Yeah.
Not 6,000 a parking stall, but 36,000 a parking stall. I mean, we've got, I think we're up to almost 3,000 approved units in the downtown now.
Including waterfront landing and oceanfront. I think it may be a little less than that, but it's up there. It's a couple of thousand for sure.
You know, so we can't get any more parking out of those guys.
Well, one of the good things about waterfront landing is last minute they did add to their CSC package a contribution to establishing a car share in the district of Squamish. So they've committed to providing funds to attract one of the car share companies. And we've had lots of discussions with one of the companies, Modo, and they see lots of potential in Squamish, but they're worried that the density is just not here yet. So they're very interested, but they're hesitant to move here. And the only way they would move here is if somebody put up the funds for 2 or 3 vehicles. And then they either would match those funds or just start with those, research the community where the best locations are, and then locate it there. So one of the stumbling blocks was the funding, and now we have funding to at least start a car share. So that will be an interesting evolution because it'll be the first one in Squamish.
Should be a truck share. One
That's what we think,
one
yeah.
truck and 2 cars.
And then
With a
truck.
sled share.
Okay, well, that's good. What are the roundtable? Do you have any roundtable discussions?
And I'm just going to throw this out there. I've been asked a few times, and I'm not sure if I got the terminology right, but what is, you go for your building inspection, and there's a professional review that you can get? Anybody know about that?
Certified professional.
So you get a certified professional do your review, and then just take that into the district?
It's if the district is set up for it.
Yeah. Well, that's that's kind of my question. I've been asked this 3 or 4 times from people out there, because they length of time to get inspections and sometimes frustrated with potential. They think they have everything and then they don't. And I understand that if the the district adopts that policy, if we say we're a town that approves and uses that professional review services, then the builder can go, here's my approved plans.
Can you guys comment on that so that we can understand what it is and how it works?
I don't know too much about it. As I understand it, you can basically alter your building permitting service by adding a pre-qualification process where professionals will pre-qualify to basically take it out of the building inspector's hands completely, and it's a much faster process for, it wouldn't be for everything, it would be for more complex buildings, and in some cases, people use alternative solutions to the code, and that's what really sometimes can slow down the process, because there's a lot of back and forth between the building inspector and the code consultant. So some people get caught in that. I think our standard permitting times are really good.
Yeah, I'm not really referring to a single family.
Yeah, for like a commercial building, I think it's 3 months or so. But it all depends on the quality of information we receive.
Well, I mean, that's my question. If you have a professional group or whoever does that,
Then you have somebody who's being paid by the client
yeah.
No, but
instead of a third party.
Is that conflict?
I guess maybe what you're referring to is the CP program, Certified Professional Program. For example, City of Vancouver does it,
Yeah,
Surrey does it, and basically, you know, there are these CPs, right? And although paid for by the owner, these are professionals, right? So they would never sign and seal a drawing that I guess any of us would not believe in, right? So that's our duty, and basically, you know, let's say GHL or whomever, just taking the package, do all the code review, and sign and seal it, so all the responsibility lies on that CP.
yeah.
So it's up to the CP to run around during occupancy to collect all the documents, rather than, I guess, your building inspector having
Yeah.
to get those things. But in terms of building inspections, I believe it's still is required by your staff. It's just that it can be supplemented with the CP, and usually you would really heavily rely on that CP to give you proper professional guidance, and same deal, like all the alternative solutions and whatnot would be dealt with, right? So
That's the one.
And I guess we do that to the extent with complex buildings, we don't do inspections. It all is all done by QPs. We audit, or we basically do random audits of the inspections, but we don't actually go and do inspections on like Part 3 buildings.
Excuse me. I think we do.
No,
It's just
you
the,
rely on
just the final,
engineers.
just the final,
Just the final.
as far as I know, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really on the consultant group. So, yeah.
You have to
It's to
ask
take the
Councilor
library
Chabelle
off
that question.
the
Yeah.
district.
But that's only Part 3 buildings, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is it not allowed on Part 9 buildings, or is it just no one spends the money on Part 9 buildings to do that?
Well, we have staff that are qualified or certified to do the reviews. I mean, when it comes to complex buildings, we only have one, and then all the liability goes on to the professionals, not the district as well, because they're more complex buildings.
Well, I'll look into it more and let you know next time, because I want to check that out. It saves people time, and they're prepared to pay for it.
Removes liability from the district,
Well, that's a big one.
then it's a no-brainer.
And saves us time. 'Cause
Yeah.
there is things backing up, and not necessarily backing up, but I know people will come in and they think they have everything, and they hand it all in, and they think it's all in there, and then, oh, this isn't in there. So that's a month. Well, that's not in there, so then it's back to the consultants, and they redraw, and then bring it back and back in there. And sometimes that happens a few times.
It does, and it's not always the district's fault. It's
No.
sometimes information changes.
Yeah.
From what we thought was going to come in when we have those meetings before the application is submitted, and something else gets submitted. And then when we start using alternative solutions, it gets more complex.
Yeah.
But I think it's worthy of an investigation into what the potential is of this certification system.
Okay, so do we have any other roundtables?
Perhaps we should make a motion to pencil in a beer night after like a September meeting or something like that. Off-site, of course.
I will second that motion.
September it is.
Okay,
Um,
block out an hour for that.
And then we'll get a little doodle for an August ADP.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Just something that Crosland had noted, as a general note, it's, I think for me, it's easier to have a longer meeting than 2 in a month. So whenever that's, I don't know what the overall group consensus is, but if that's possible to have longer meetings as opposed to 2, to me that would be preferred. But,
Yeah.
Okay.
I know in Whistler they'll often start at like 12 o'clock and then just have sandwiches or something like that during the meeting, and just so that they can get the stuff done for people traveling. I mean, they might have more people traveling from Vancouver, but
Would an earlier meeting work for everybody?
one
I'd
would
rather
be
go
okay.
later.
I'd rather.
Yeah, I
One
think
would
there's
be
a few of us that can't go later because we
Yeah.
have childcare
Yeah.
issues. I think there's 3 of us that have childcare pickup,
Yeah.
so we can't go later than 5. But as long as there's enough other people, if it continues beyond.
Yeah. Or if we were to start at 1, if we were to
Start at
stick
1
to the
would
schedule.
be, yeah, I think if we stick to the schedule, we'll be surprised at how many
Give
we
it
get
no
through.
lunch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, there's always special circumstances where you need 2 a month, and that makes sense, but if it's possible.
Is there that much coming up that we'd be expecting like 2 a month at the moment?
Once in a while, not as a regular thing, but yeah, we've had 2 a month quite a few times recently. It's not a regular occurrence.
But we've had, no meeting, and then the next month we've had 2, so I'm wondering if there's ability to kind of just find a balance there.
Yeah, I mean, if the ADP said we're not interested in one meeting a month, we will do that.
We made it the exception instead of the general
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, things come up and there's, 2 big projects in a month and they have to be reviewed, and we
Yes.
don't want to backlog
Yeah.
those important works, but.
I don't think I could really do more than 3 in one sitting.
More coffee.
Just-
General
Already
rule is
deemed, yeah.
two projects.
Look at those
They-
baked goods.
we added, initially we had 3 on this agenda just because one of them was just an update,
Yep.
but normally it wouldn't be more than 2.
Okay.
Gee, we've had 4 at Whistler, I think, maybe even more.
yeah.
But then we've limited some to 40 minutes, right?
Yeah, oh, totally.
Yeah.
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 I think we could easily achieve 3 if the schedule was stuck to.
Then, I know in other places, the workshop meeting is very common, so that people get direction, early direction, instead of showing up with, and then it's like this big deal if they're way off course. And that friendly encouragement to say, the IDP should be a tool to help you find the best direction or confirm your direction. Yeah. And instead of, I hope you get past IDP attitude.
Yeah, that's really important.
If there's any ability to do that, then I think it should be encouraged.
So, does planning offer that to development? Like if a developer comes in and says, maybe you want to bring that in for review?
So often what we get is, by the time the development permit comes in, it's done, it's all put together.
But even before that though, so if someone comes in and they want to build X, and I mean, I can think of a lot of reasons that would be good, like just for what you said there. If you said, well, yeah, that's great, there is an opportunity to be in front of ADP and discuss your ideas and some sketches early on in the game.
Before you even make an application?
Well, you guys have your pre-application meeting, right?
We do, yeah.
And maybe at that time, you make the applicant aware, it's like, we highly encourage this to come in for an early meeting,
We could,
Plans
we
need to
haven't
be-
been doing that.
And we just
I think
limit it to half an
I would
hour
only say
comments or something.
do it if it's outside of staff's comfort level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If somebody's pushing a
Or
boundary,
if it's something different,
you know.
it's not just status quo. And because sometimes different that you want doesn't come through because it's different.
We encourage different.
Yes.
But it still doesn't make it through. Or because if you read all the things that builders follow, well, it meets this criteria, it meets this criteria, but it sure doesn't meet that, and it doesn't meet that, well, I wouldn't try those. And that's where I see a lot of lost opportunity for uniqueness.
Okay, well, I think we've had enough discussion here.
Typical engineer.
A motion to terminate the meeting, seconded by Sarah. Terminated at 3:55.
Motion for everybody to stop talking.